one day somebody does something unspeakable to someone else, to someone you hardly knew, and you do something about it because you can.
From AZ Central, we get this story regarding the Phoenix Police Department and the U.S. Department of Justice. Still going. Phoenix City Manager Jeff Barton will travel to Washington, D.C. on Friday, that was this last Friday, to begin negotiations with the U.S. Department of Justice Civil Rights Division more than 3 months after the DOJ released its investigation of the city that found routine brutality and discrimination. Now, Barton will be joined by Assistant City Manager Lori Bays, Police Chief Michael Sullivan, City Attorney Julie Craig, and attorneys from Denton's and Steptoe and Johnson, firms the City Council hired for legal assistance. They will stay in D.C. overnight. The team will not include Phoenix Mayor Kate Gallego or any members of the City Council. Interesting. It was not immediately clear who from the Justice Department will attend. City Communications Director Dan Wilson said the purpose of this initial meeting is to begin productive discussions between the City of Phoenix and the DOJ about a path forward that works best for the members of the Phoenix community. Wilson and Gallego's spokesperson, Ariel Devora, declined to explain why no elected officials were attending, saying it was a subject of executive session. Executive sessions are legally allowed confidential meetings. Attendees of such meetings are not allowed to publicly discuss what was said. Get back to that. Council members expressed mixed feelings about whether elected officials should have gone. Councilmember Carlos Galindo Elvira supported management alone going. He said, I think that if you're going to have elected officials there, it's going to be all or none, because not one council member can speak on behalf of the entire council. He said he was open to elected officials getting involved later, depending on where the conversation is going. Councilmember Laura Pastor said the city sent leadership with expertise in policing, legal negotiations, and city management to lead these critical discussions. She said, I don't think it's typical for elected representatives to attend, but if one were to, it would be most appropriate for the mayor, who was elected to represent the entire city, she says. In other cities investigated by the Justice Department, mayors were part of negotiations, such as Louisville's Mayor Craig Greenberg and Minneapolis's Mayor Jacob Frey. But a key difference is that those cities operate under a strong mayor form of government in which the mayor acts as the city CEO. Phoenix has a council manager form of government which puts Barton at the helm, the city manager. Gallego represents all of the city's 1.6 million residents, but has no more voting power than the other 8 city council members, who each represent roughly 200,000 constituents. Vice Mayor Deborah Stark said she had mixed emotions about no elected leaders going. Both she and Councilmember Ann O'Brien said it made sense to leave it to the lawyers given the Justice Department could sue. Still, Stark wondered if having an elected official would go a long way in showing the Justice Department the city was serious about reform, because I don't think they are. Council members Stark, O'Brien, Galindo Elvira, and Kevin Robinson were hopeful the negotiations would go well, though Stark acknowledged the possibility the DOJ might still sue Phoenix. They should. Quote, I suspect that it might be a lawsuit, but I'm always the optimist, and I'm hoping we can come to some terms. She said she thought Assistant Attorney General of the DOJ Civil Rights Division, Kristen Clark, seemed heartfelt about working with the city the day that the DOJ report dropped. Pastor said she hopes the negotiations bring an agreement that includes monitoring timeline and real accountability. What are Phoenix officials and the DOJ negotiating? Well, the Justice Department released its 3-year investigation of the city of Phoenix and the Phoenix Police Department on June 13th. That's this year. The 126-page report found the city and police force routinely used excessive force, discriminated against residents, and illegally seized unhoused people's belongings. Yeah. DOJ investigators say their findings in Phoenix were so egregious that a consent decree is needed to ensure constitutional policing, sometimes referred to simply as federal oversight. A consent decree is a legally binding contract enforceable by a judge. It includes measurable police reforms, mutually agreed upon by the city and the DOJ, and compliance is monitored by an outside entity. But Phoenix leaders for months have insisted that the city can reform its police department without federal help. Bullshit. And have resisted signing a consent decree. Even before the investigation concluded, city attorneys wrote the Justice Department asking for a different resolution. The police department published the Road to Reform report outlining changes made or underway in response to the DOJ investigation. Now, this last Tuesday, the city council approved new staff positions and mandated changes to improve police data collection and accountability to address critical flaws that the DOJ reported. Notably, some of the changes include a police analyst team to help the department with reforms recommended by the Justice Department. Gallego said the change represented a transformation in government, while residents expressed skepticism that meaningful change would follow. I follow that skepticism. I don't think the Phoenix PD is ever going to change. I think they're going to, 3 years the DOJ has been investigating. And yet here we are. Well, let's go to Washington, D.C. We're ready to talk now. You should have been ready to talk at least a year ago. Note that no elected officials went on this meeting. It's just the city manager and his managers and the police chief. Garth, you got to go, right? But no mayor. That's interesting. No mayor. And no city council members are going to D.C. to be in these negotiations. And the negotiations are a private council meeting. They can't speak publicly on what's going on. So basically, it's a closed door. One of those behind closed doors meetings. In the dark. What happened in there? Can't talk about it.
Oh, no one knows what goes on behind